We just talk about all the things that make us feel better about ourselves, and that's what we're covering today. Okay. So let me see if I can find that video again to refresh it. I think I found it. Let me see. Let's hope so. Let's hope I can find it. All right, the Twitter feed is moving so fast. It's crazy. Let me see. Okay, I found it. There you go. Here we go. Let's play it.
You happen to be example. Talking about marriage, Auntie, you as Uncle Olu Jacobs.
Wait, before
example.
Before I continue, right? Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, now just agree to now, right? How do I join the course? Please just go to loveandprestige.com. Loveandprestige.com will take you inside. Okay. Hello, Yvette. Good to see you, Yvette. Good to see you. Welcome. Happy Sunday to all of you now. All right, good. All right, so let's get back to the video.
As to what love is. I don't know if you know about that, but there was a whole time, even up to now, the internet was like, you know what?
She said example as to what love is. We're in the age where people are paying more attention to things like love is not enough. It's a nice buzzword phrase. Okay. I understand where they're coming from. Love is not enough. And when you say that, people will jump on it and say, hey, yes, true, of course, love is not enough, right? When they explain it, it makes sense on paper, right? But what did she say?
You as Uncle Olu Jacobs, you happen to be examples as to what love is. I don't know if
example as to what love is, okay? So Uncle Olu Jacobs is about 80, she's about 65 or so, between 60 and 70. And she's taking care of this man. This man is now 80% no longer here because of dementia, right? What is dementia? Somebody's saying, what is dementia? It's let me find it properly, right? A lot of people also misconstrue. I do, dementia, Alzheimer, but it's basically a loss of cognitive functioning, the ability to think, remember, and reason. That's basically our whole life. That's basically our whole experience. Think about that, right? To such an extent that it interferes with a person's daily life and activities. Okay, so that's what we're talking about today, right? So but now it's not that if a person passes away, you miss them, right? And you can't take care of you, but they're no longer here. You don't have to babysit them, right? So it's a rest for them. Hopefully they were old enough. It's also some sort of rest for you, but you miss them. From a emotional standpoint, you miss this person completely. Like, you don't want them gone so soon, right? No matter how old they get, if they're your spouse, right? So again, the wife, Joker Silva, is now there to take care of him. And in this respect, I just wonder, right? Why is marriage so important, right? Okay, maybe not marriage. A lot of people are it's triggering. Even the word marriage is triggering to people right now. What about marriage? Let's say maybe long-term relationships, romantic relationship, right? What about that, right? Why is marriage or long-term relationship so important, or is it important at all, right? Is it necessary? Do we need it, right? Because of what we're talking about right now. Like, in the real world, marriage is now somewhat obsolete. Do you agree? Right? Even from a standpoint of people are becoming 35, 40, 45, and they just say, listen, I don't need to be married. And it's true, right? It's true, right? But are we talking about the downside of that with regards to long term? Short term, it makes sense. It's true. Nobody has to be married, ever. Then there's the aspect of the pressure, right? Even this session I'm doing right now can easily become pressure in the art of many people, right? And ideally, I would like to completely stay away from the topic and not pressurize anybody. You know what I mean? Right? Ideally, like, so I don't want to pressurize anybody. In the short term, we don't get anything from it. But in this conversation, is there some kind of long term? I just want to bring awareness, So I understand pressure.
Everything I do, I will. Pressure to what?
Yeah, pressure to what? I understand, So, Cherished Olivia says, I feel it's not really all about love. I understand. She said, I feel it's being intentional and being committed. That sounds like part of the ingredient in love for me. But again, I guess it's now coming down to semantics, right? Like what love means to everyone is different, right? But it sounds like to Nancy Insime, who is the host of this show, it sounds like to her, the fact that this woman is still committed means love to her, right? All right. Ability not to remember, think, or make informed decisions. Thank you for that, Gorex. It must be very difficult for her to take care of him. Yeah. Or it's actually easy when when that person has put you in position over the past decade to be able to love them in that way. She did use the word it's not easy, right? So it's not easy. It's also something to unpack, right? Because to a lot of people that means different things, right? It's not easy in terms of course I have to take care of a full-grown adult, right? It's not easy from an emotional standpoint. Is it easy? Is it not easy? Do you find it easy to take care of certain people and find it harder to take care of other people, even though it's the same activities? But because that one person is a person that you really hate the idea that you have to take care of them. You don't like it. They've never really liked you like that, so you don't feel you feel like you just leave them on the side and move on with your own life because they've also moved mad, right? Just imagine that same activity but two different people. You find it easy to take care of one person, you find it hard to take care of the other person. Same set of tangible activities, right? So now easy is different from people to people and from experience to experience, especially since she's still an actor. Exactly. I'm sure they have help and stuff like that, but still, in that respect that we're talking about, it's not easy to be there for that man. But maybe her experience with him has made it easy. Like, of course, this is my husband, because she said something towards the end of that, and we're going to unpack that as well. Jojo says, it's not easy seeing your energetic spouse as vegetables. So it's not easy for her to see him as vegetables, not particularly to take care of him. That's another angle to it. It also depends on the severity of his mental and physical decline in caring for him. Yeah, she said 80% is no longer there. I would argue that the mental aspect of things is probably harder for her. I think the easiest part for her is probably the easiest, not easy, but the easiest part for her is to take care of this man. She doesn't mind. But this part right here, was it Jojo? This part right here, it's not easy seeing your energetic spouse as vegetables. This part is probably the hardest, the mental part of it, right? Like, of course, you will wish that it's still here. We can go out. We can still joke, laughy, think about the fact that you're talking almost like you're talking to yourself, and he's still right there just looking at you, right? And he can't think, right? So, and yeah, it's a big deal. So let me go back to this video and continue to break it down.
If you know about that, but there was a whole time, even up to now, the internet was like, you know what, this is real love.
Oh, wow.
This is what true love is. The face of true love.
She said, this is real love. This is what true love is, right? So in our book, we did talk about real love. We talk about in love, the difference between in love and real love, right? And I think Cherished Olivia, I think you were talking about in love. That is not about in love. I think you were talking about that. But real love, true love, right? when you experience it, it's a long-term situation. It's a long-term type of thing. It's not stuff you can just look at and say, hey, because of how I feel right now, I can't do certain things, right? Yeah.
And this is because, I mean, it's public knowledge that Uncle Olu is not entirely, up on his feet
Yes,
at
he
the
has
moment.
dementia. Yes.
Dementia at the
Yes.
moment. Yes, and you've held his hand the whole time. We see it. We don't even see the ones inside the house. But whenever there's a public appearance, like his birthday, you were there, and the way you handled him with love and with care and with patience, we could tell. We know when people are just for the sake of the cameras. But we could tell that it was in every single detail, in the tiny things, even when you didn't know you were being recorded, in speaking to him. But today, after so many years, how many years were you?
We've been married for 37 years, but we've known each other for 42. We've been there, yeah.
All right. So a total of 42 years. If you've seen this guy in action, right, on the screen, you will probably have a better idea of what we're talking about. This was still is, we should still say is, a full-blown human being, right? Yeah, it's a big deal that is not able to reason, right? In a degenerative manner, as in like, this is a slow thing that's been happening over the years to a point that 80% now, he's no longer there, right? So it's a big deal. It's a big deal that we're talking about this. But keep in mind, I have a point here that I'm making here today. Okay. Yes, it's true. You don't have to be married to find other people to take care of you like this. Okay. You don't. Okay. But there's also a point to a lot of cases that we're hearing. I'll bring some of them as a topic here one of these days, where men become older, but they become also very lonely. Okay. Men. Okay. So I also, maybe very briefly, I'll talk about my parents. Okay, my parents are 70 and 69. I'll talk also briefly about that. So this is a big deal. Cherise Olivia said dementia is very degenerative. It must be getting worse with each passing day. Exactly. Read my comment above Jojo's. Let me find it. Above Jojo's. Okay, there you go. I believe his wife will get in-home caregivers to assist her in caring for his daily needs. It's a lot for the caring spouse. Yes, absolutely. That's why I said that's probably the easiest part for her, because she can easily hire people to take care of those tangible physical needs. And I think that's probably the easiest part. Not easy, but easiest part for her. Okay, let's see here. And let me see, now let's go back to this one. It's not easy, and it can be very tiring. She will break down behind the closed door sometimes, though, I'm sure. And if he's complying to being helped, some refuse to be helped due to loss of trust. They don't remember their loved ones and know them anymore. Yeah, that sounds tough too. That sounds tough. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's go back to the video. Thank you.
We're dating.
We're missing 20 likes.
5 years before we got married. 5 or 5 years.
Oh my gosh. I need advice from the angle of what is it like? That this is it, like literally in health and in sickness. How is it for you? Your mental state. How have you been able to bring yourself to this spot and just continue to be there for your husband?
Well, I have to be very honest. It hasn't been easy.
Okay, so that's the part she's talking about. It's not easy. She's not talking about the marriage. She's talking about taking care of. No, let's see what she's talking about. But she's talking about everything since he's been getting sick, right? But again, let's see if she's talking about the mental aspect of things, emotional. I don't like to put words in people's mouth. I want to see what she's saying. And then I'll do my own interpretation of what I think it is. I can still be wrong, just so you know.
In the early years when we first started, we didn't even realize it had started. We just were like, why are you behaving like this? What's happening to you? Things like that.
Okay, this was when the sickness started. Okay, when the sickness started, he was completely strange to her, the symptoms that she was seeing, right? Okay.
But when it then, kind of the deterioration became a bit more rapid. Oh, my darling, you didn't want to see me at that time. I was bawling. I always used to bawl my eyes out. You know? And then, you know, there now came a point of acceptance that this is it. This is the reality. It is what it is. And it's almost like the person you married 80% of the time is no longer there. It's another, you know, but the thing is this: when he was there, he was an amazing man. And
all right, so you need to pay attention to that. We all need to pay attention to that, right? We can all agree that it just makes sense that because he was an amazing man when he was there, it's easier, not easy. This is not easy, okay? This is never easy for anyone. Those are two different things. Frame of reference is very important here, right? It's easier for her to come to the conclusion that this is it, when it's a person who was actually an amazing person to her, right? Right? It's easier that way. But you can't, how can she have that experience if she wasn't married to this man? Or let me say it's possible, but what are the chances she would have that experience if she wasn't married to this man? Now, it's easy to look at things from the standpoint of Auntie Joker, she's taking care, right? But we also need to look at things from the standpoint of being taken care of. Being in a position where when you become, quote unquote, a vegetable, there's actually someone who is taking care of you. What about long after you're actually gone 100%, taking care of your legacy? No one is paying attention to that anymore. Everybody is woke because of the now. Right? Everybody is like, well, that's obsolete because of what they can see now at most into the next 5 years. A lot of people are still saying, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? No one is thinking further than that. No one has the foresight anymore. Everybody is individualism. Let me just worry about me, how I'm going to make money, how I'm going to become the next boss chick, how I'm going to become the next, you know, guy on the block with the Lamborghini, with the girls around him. That's what everyone is thinking about. Okay? And somehow we expect that there's not going to be consequences of at a macro level, at a community level, this type of mindset. We expect that there won't be consequences. I think you can see the consequences already. How is it working? Right? Was it better back then? No, but we can see some examples. There's some examples we can talk about. Let me keep going.
Because he was an incredible, my husband is an incredible father to his children.
Okay, so she said he was an amazing man. She said father to his children, but she's still the wife. Today we have people separating being a good father from being a good husband. Oh, you know, you're not necessarily a good father if you're a good husband, and vice versa. All this woke talking points when we can actually easily keep it simple. The same ingredients tend to go into each other. How do you become a good father? How do you become a good husband? They tend to, I didn't say 100% of the time, but they tend to go hand in hand, right? But everybody's woke. Everybody's woke. You know what? He was a good father, but he wasn't a good husband. If he was such a good father, it wasn't good enough to build on top of. It wasn't good enough to work with to see if we can help him get there. No, but he was a good father, but he was a terrible husband. So what does the mind do? It focuses on the terrible husband aspect of things. We do the same thing when it comes to wife, but we hear more of those when it comes to the other side, right? Nah, she was a good mother, but she wasn't a good wife. She was such a good mother, that wasn't good enough for you to build, to pay attention to and say, maybe I can build on top of this, right? But what do? You start comparing her as a wife to another person's wife, right? And then you wonder why you have all this result, or social media is exposing all of these crazy stories, right? Yeah.